Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video, I'm going to take you through the week ahead analysis. I'm going to highlight the news for the week and some things to watch in terms of charts. So let's go ahead and go into the week where we have some major news to watch. We have some important data out of Australia in terms of retail sales. We also have manufacturing production from the pound on Tuesday. With the retail sales forecast to drop a little bit in Australia. We are looking at really some interesting CPI data out of the US, and you know, it could show us that inflation in the US is continuing to rise, and so that's going to be a really interesting one to watch on Wednesday. Could see some factors here that could be quite positive for not just the US dollar, but positive for other markets. We also have some PPI data and some retail sales towards the end of the week. What's really going to be interesting for me is the bond yields. So last week bond yields had really skyrocketed. You can see here on this chart just on the right hand side that the green line is the US 10-year yields, and the blue line is the S&P 500. Now I've only compared these two charts together because often we can see that when there is a sudden shock in the yields, it can affect the stock markets. And last week we had that. The yields rallied quite significantly, and stocks or the S&P as well as the likes of the Nasdaq fell quite significantly. Now we have broken above this sort of 1.7 level on the US 10-year yields now, which could be quite substantial in terms of what happens next in the market, because the Fed have remained fairly hawkish in their tone, and it is likely that we are going to see anywhere between 3 to 4 hikes this year. So if yields continue to rise, will that put pressure on certain markets in the short term? I don't think it'll have a long-term effect. You can see here, despite sort of yields kind of having sort of a shock rise here, for instance, we did get a fall in the S&P, but we did soon kind of recover, and the market moved to the upside after that. So I don't think we'll see some kind of real significant breaks lower, but in the short term we could see the S&P kind of over the next maybe couple of weeks, or or even a month or so, hold fairly around the same sort of prices it's at now. Usually then after the sort of Fed talks about hikes and they hike after the first hike, we can often see the market rally a little bit. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the markets here as the yields break above that 1.7 level. So that last week was pretty much the sort of shock in the market. So we'll see what happens with regards to how that affects markets in the future. I think one thing that you could research is how the rise in yields can affect certain markets. We've seen sort of stocks fall, however, the likes of WTI rallied and things like that, which we'll kind of touch upon a little bit in this video. Moving on then, so going on to the strength meter, is there anything in the strength meter that is that significant to the markets? Well, pound is very strong. We can see here it is the strongest currency currently. The weakest currencies are the yen and the New Zealand dollar, both in reversal zones, or all three in reversal zones. However, we may see this continue in the short term, even if it just holds for a week here. Potentially the same here with yen and whatnot, because if yields rise, yen does typically weaken. So that's a factor that could keep pressure on the yen in the short term. So we could still see some downside to those yen pairs. We highlighted CAD yen long opportunities last week, which worked out pretty well. I think one to watch for me is the euro. The euro has been slowly gaining strength. We can see this blue line here running through the middle of the strength meter. We're well above zero now, and we're heading towards those stronger levels. So to me, euro could be one to watch going into next week for some potential opportunities. Bringing on to the dollar index then. So not going to talk too much about this. We've kind of talked about dollar index for a while now. You know, how is the dollar going to react to this recent boost in yields and things like that? Are we going to see the dollar continue to fall? What I'm going to be watching for is breaks below these lows, around about 95.53. If we can trade below that, I think we will see a pullback towards 94.55s, which will give us some opportunities on euro US dollar, which is what we've just kind of covered in the strength meter. Euro getting stronger. If the US dollar index can break those lows, euro US dollar will break above this 113.86 area, and if we can trade above that, I think we're going to see prices rally back towards 115, even potentially 116. We do have like a nice supply zone running through here as well, so couple of areas to watch. I think what we need to see though is price trade above these levels, show us that buyers are interested in staying around this area, and then look for further long ideas. Gold could be an interesting one to watch. When the last time we kind of had US CPI data and we saw that inflation was rising, the price of gold rallied quite significantly, almost as a hedge to the rise in inflation. That could kick off again. Prices holding around about this 1787 level, and if that was to continue to hold at that point, then we may see price rally back towards the highs around about 1830. So this pressured sort of downside here on the sort of bearishness of last week may not hold. We may start to see a little bit more upside to the price of gold. Finally, crude oil. I still like opportunities to be long crude oil. It's performed pretty well recently, and you can see this 4 hour is making higher highs and higher lows, quite significant higher highs and higher lows. I'm expecting that to continue. We may get a stronger pullback here, but if we start to trend higher again in the 4 hour time frame, making higher highs, higher lows, things like that, I would expect to maybe see the weekly price continue towards these highs around about 83.80. So keep an eye on crude oil, could be one to watch for some more long ideas. Thanks for watching this video update. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more of our Forex trading content. I'll speak to you in the next video.